Good morning, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Okay, so let us start our class today. Mm, We shall start the next chapter. Sorry, just a minute. So today we are going to start this chapter. That is the chapter on grounding practice and overvoltage due to earth fault. Now, there are different ways of grounding in which is done in power system applications or in practice. There are many ways by or there are, I should not say many ways, there are some method through which the system is grounded or arc. Now, depending upon the type or the method of grounding, it has been found that due to, in the case of any fault involving arc, some overvoltage develops in the system. Let us now discuss some of such cases and see how much overvoltage is actually generated due to arc fault. To start with, we shall discuss the problems in ungrounded system. If we a have an ungrounded system like this, now the equivalent circuit diagram of an ungrounded system can be represented like this. The lines are again represented with the help of distributed inductances and also uh, the capacitances that are formed between the lines and ground and also between the lines. Now we are considering a star connected system where N is the neutral point, and this is the uh, case what is done usually in practice. Usually in practice, we normally go for star connected system because the neutral point is available through which, if necessary, grounding can be done or which can be connected to ground. Now, one thing should be mentioned here that compared to the capacitances formed between the lines and ground, the effect of the capacitances that appear between the lines can be neglected. Practically, the charging current that flows through the capacitances formed between the lines and grounds will be much more compared to the charging currents flowing through the capacitances formed between the lines, that is CRY, CRYB, and CBR. Their effects can be neglected for all practical purposes compared to the effect of the capacitances formed between the lines and ground. Now, again, if we draw the phasor diagram of this system, considering the uh, only the line to ground capacitances are existing and ignoring this effect of these capacitances, we can draw the phasor diagram of the system like this, where VR, VY, and VB are the phase voltages. That is the voltages with respect to ground. Initially, we are considering the uh, system is acting under normal operating condition and there is no fault or no fault has developed in the system. Now, since this is purely a capacitive circuit, when we consider the capacitances alone, the uh, capacitances between the lines and grounds, then the currents IR, IY, and IB, as we know, will be leading the respective phase voltages by 90 degrees that has been shown in the figure. So these are the voltages, phase voltages and respective currents to the capacitances IR, IY, and IB, which are at right angles and leading the respective voltages by 90 degrees. Now, obviously, the magnitude of these currents can be, their magnitudes will be equal and they will be displaced from each other by 90 degrees, and their magnitudes can be computed like this: V phase by X into XC, where XC is the capacitance of the XC is the capacity, not capacitance, capacitive reactance of the line to ground. Let me make this correction. Okay. Then then we consider that an earth fault has developed involving the line B, that is line B is connected to ground. Then what happens, uh, as you see, when line B is connected to ground, what is the voltage appearing between line R and line B, or line R and ground? Earlier, the current that was flowing between the ground and R were using, when there is no fault in the system, the voltage that drives the current to the capacitor CR is the phase voltage. Now, since the voltage, phase B is connected to ground, then we can say that between ground and other two healthy lines, that is R and Y, line voltage appears, and the current that is driven through these capacitance will be due to the line voltages that appear between the line R and B, or in other words, R and ground, and Y and B, that is Y and ground. That is why the currents have been written as IBR and IBY. And since the line B is connected to ground, sum total of these two currents, that is phasors addition of these two currents, or the resultant of these two currents, will flow from line B to the ground, and then it divides into two parts, IBR and IBI, BY, and flows to the capacitances to the lines. Is that point clear to you all? To tell me whether this point is clear to you all or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. Now you see these things we have discussed. IBR through phase B, the fault, and capacitance CR to the phasor conductor. The current in phase B has two components, and IBY to phase B, the fault, and the capacitance CY to the phase Y conductor. The voltages driving these currents are VBR and VBY respectively, and since the current is predominantly capacitive, they lead their respective voltages almost by 90 degrees. Sorry. Next, we draw another phasor diagram. Just you see, this is VBY, this is VBR, and obviously the currents IBR is leading VBR by 90 degree, and current IBY is leading VBY by 90 degree, and their resultant is this one. Now, IBR and IBY can be calculated like this: the respective voltages which drive these currents divided by the reactance of, or impedance. In this case, it is capacitance, dominantly capacitance. So we consider only the reactance, nothing, capacitive reactance alone. So IBR is VBR by XC, that is root 3 V phase by X, root 3 into V phase by XC, VBR being the line voltage, so it will be root 3 times of V phase. Similarly, IBY will also be equal to root 3 V phase by XC. Now, the resultant of these two currents, IBR and IBY, will be root 3 times of IBR. Do you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this angle is 60 degrees, so we can find out the resultant, and it becomes equals to I root 3 times IBR, because magnitude of IBR, IBY all are equal. Now IBR is again V phase by XC, so it is 3 into V phase by XC. Is that okay? 3 into V phase by XC.
Yes, sir.
So the fault current is 3 times the current flowing through the line to ground capacitances under normal condition. So that is our observation. Under normal conditions, the current that would have been flowing through the capacitances formed between the lines and grounds, we have seen the magnitude of those currents are equal to V phase by XC. Now, due to this earth fault, it has become, the fault current has become 3 into V phase by XC. Therefore, the fault current is 3 times the normal capacitive current that flows through the capacitances formed between the line and ground. So that is our first observation. What are the other things? Let us see. So this is our observations. First observation is this: in an ungrounded neutral system under single line to ground fault, here we consider the B fault, B phase, or line B is connected to ground only. So that is why it is considered as single line to ground fault. The voltage to earth of the two healthy phases rises from their normal phase to neutral voltage. That is, from phase voltage to full line voltage. That is obvious. What are the voltages that appear between ground and line R and line Y here after the occurrence of the single line to ground fault? What is the value of the voltage? It has now become line voltage. Earlier it was phase voltage with respect to ground. So the voltages of the two healthy phases increase from phase voltage magnitude of phase value to magnitude of line voltage value. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So, and the consequence is this may result in insulation failure. And the capacitive current, this point we have discussed already, is 3 times its normal value. And third observation regarding there will be some neutral shift, and this neutral shift, the capacitive current in two healthy phases increases to root 3 times their normal values. This is due to the neutral shift. How neutral shift occurs, etc. It is explained here. Uh, there is a mistake. I make this correction. Here it will be 3 times capacitive current. Three times their normal values. This is due to the neutral shift. And what is neutral shift? So far, as I remember, we discussed all these things in your first year class when we discussed in principles of electrical engineering, Millman's theorem, etc. There we discussed in detail neutral shift. So do you remember that or not? Do you remember neutral shift or not?
Yes, sir.
So the same thing is happening here. Since the neutral is not connected directly to any reference or to any particular object which is at either maybe at ground potential or some other potential. So neutral is floating. And in the event of fault, just now we have seen the voltages of the two healthy phases may increase Now, we not may increase, it will increase and may assume the value equals to the full line voltage. So the phase voltages actually shift like this, and the voltage of the faulty phase, obviously, since the fault is involving ground, so the voltage in the faulty phase will be very small, almost equal to zero. This is the situation. Under normal condition, the neutral point is actually neutral point coincides with the centroid of the triangle, but here it is shifted. It could have been shifted anywhere inside or outside the triangle depending upon the degree of unbalancing. So is that okay? Ungrounded system.
Yes, sir.
Now the final point is this arcing ground. Just have a look. Now a capacitive fault current IBR plus IBY we have seen flows into arc. A capacitive current in excess of about 4 amperes may be sufficient to maintain an arc in the ionized path of the fault. Obviously, when there will be grounding of one phase or there will be a fault involving ground and one of the phases, uh, the current flowing through that path will be quite large. And it has been found that a current of magnitude about 4 amperes will be able to maintain the arc developed in the faulty path, and the persistency of this arc due to flow of capacitive fault current gives rise to a condition which is known as arcing ground, in which results in high frequency oscillations being superimposed on the whole system to build up high over voltages. So due to the existence and persistence of the capacitive fault current, arcing ground, that is the uh, persistence of the arc in the fault path will continue, and this phenomenon is known as arcing ground. That is, arc is developed involving ground, and when this happens, high frequency oscillations actually set up in the system, which are superimposed with the system voltages and high and may lead to development of high voltages or over voltages in the system. And if that happens, over voltages develop in the system, then insulation failure may take place or insulation breakdown may take place. And this is the adverse effect of arcing ground. Is it clear what is arcing ground, etc.?
Yes, sir.
So, did you study all these things before in any other class? These faults, etc., etc., grounding practices. Did you study in any other subject or any other class, power system or elsewhere? Tell me, tell me. It is simple answer, yes or no. It is not a complicated question which I have asked.
Sir, we have studied fault analysis in power system. This is
Y- Yes, sir, but I
but
don't think we have studied grounding practices.
yes, sir.
Grounding fault analysis means that is uh, single line to ground fault, double line to ground fault, all these things.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, these grounding practices and associated art faults you have not studied.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. So next is solidly grounded system. Solidly grounded system means the neutral point in our previous case was isolated, but here it is directly or solidly, I mean, connected to ground or solidly grounded. Most of the ground faults, what we see in practice, are temporary in nature. Actually, that is the reason why circuit breakers are operated in auto reclosing mode. We shall discuss this point after a few minutes. Now, here we consider that again, phase B is connected directly to ground. Then what happens, you see, in the case of solidly grounded system, neutral point is solidly grounded and ground faults of one or two phases produce large currents so that earth fault relay can operate and circuit breaker disconnects the faulty section. It is quite obvious because in the case of any ground fault, the current flowing through the ground and the one or two of the phases, you have studied single line to ground fault or double line to ground fault. The currents flowing through ground involving one or two phases, as the case may be, increases definitely from its normal value. Therefore, the earth fault relays which are placed or which are used to detect earth faults will obviously detect this high value of earth current and sense the abnormality that has developed in the system, and sensing that, it will send a trip signal to the circuit breaker which will trip the circuit and isolate the healthy section of the circuit from the faulty section. That is the normal way how the protective system or protective devices operate. But the thing is this, what is written in the next section, usually many such faults are of temporary nature, such as in the case of strong wind or in the case of thunderstorm, quite often where the distribution, power distribution is through overhead lines, tree branches are found to be falling on the lines and thereby developing an earth fault to the from that particular line or two lines to the ground through the body of the tree. But then what happens if sensing that fault, your relay and circuit breaker operate, then what will happen? Okay, the system will be faulty section will be isolated. But when this happens, tree branch is falling on the distribution lines. Due to the arc and heat thus developed after falling of the tree branch on the lines, the tree branches, etc., get burnt within a very short time, and again the normalcy is restored, and no longer the short circuit path from the line to the ground through the body of the tree exists. Therefore, if by that time you have, or due to the protective mechanism, the healthy section has been isolated or the system has been put off, then there are some problems. The problems are that you can just, after removal of the fault, you can restore the supply lines, supply, but in doing so, what all you have to do, you have to take all the troubles to restart all the large motors connected in the system, because the motors are always provided with no volt coils. So when there will be opening up of the system due to uh, operation of the circuit breaker, all such motors will shut down. So before actually you restore your supply, you have to make the motors ready for operation once again. So that is a cumbersome process. That is why the circuit breakers usually operates on auto reclosing mode. That is, the circuit breaker are closed after few cycles. Though the supply is restored after short while, absence of supply releases the starter switch of different motors under operation. So even if the circuit breaker is operated under auto reclosing mode, yes, your power system will be partially restored, but the motors and other devices which are connected in the system suffering low voltage or no voltage, they will they will be required to be restarted. They will be required to be restarted. So that is the major disadvantage or most disadvantage of solidly grounded system, right? Now this to reduce the fault. Yes, any question?
No, sir.
Now,
No, sir.
okay, okay. Now to reduce the fault current so that the arc due to fault is extinguished automatically at its natural zero, ungrounded or reactance grounded system can be used. But there is a possibility of arcing ground over voltage in those systems. So we have seen the disadvantage of solidly grounded system. So instead of using solidly grounded system, we can go for ungrounded system where there is a possibility of development of arcing ground, and due to arcing ground, over voltage may develop in the system. Similarly, if we go for inductance or reactance grounded system, there also the chance of arcing ground exists. So now let us discuss reactance grounded system, resistance grounded system, and Peterson coil of arc. Now reactance grounded system here, what is the idea? Idea is why actually arcing ground develops. That is due to the fact that an arc fault current, which is predominantly capacitive in nature, flows through the ground and to the faulty path. So this is the main reason of development of arcing ground, and we have seen that a fault current or capacitive current in excess of 4 amperes will be able to maintain the arc in the faulty path. That is there. Now, if in the system which is predominantly capacitive in nature, we can somehow manage to introduce some current in the opposite direction, then the net current through the fault path will be reduced. And in order to introduce current in the opposite direction, what all we have to do, we have to introduce some inductance in the system. That is, if we do not ground the neutral point solidly, but if instead we connect an inductive coil between the ground and neutral point, then the current that will flow through the fault path will not be purely capacitive. It will be having a capacitive part as well as an inductive part, and these two currents, they act in opposition. Their phase positions are opposite to each other, and obviously there will be cancellation of some magnitude of currents. As a result, the net current in the faulty path will be reduced. So this is the idea of in the reactance grounded system. You just have a look in the this. So this is the system. Here we have connected one inductance between the neutral point and ground. So obviously, this fault current, as before, it will be IBR plus IB. Why? This IBR and IBY will be flowing through these capacitances as before, but there is another fault current IL, which will flow through the inductance. And since the inductance is also connected connected to ground, that this current, a part of this current will also flow through this path. So the phasor diagram, if we draw, it will be like this. Now, which voltage actually drives the current IL? Which voltage actually drives the current IL?
VBN.
VBN. Yes. And you see, this is the resultant of our two capacitive fault currents as before. And this is the inductive current which will flow in opposite direction to that of the fault current. But if you do not match the impedances of the capacitive reactance and inductive reactance, we cannot say that the two currents will be in exact phase opposition, what has been shown in the diagram, but they will act in opposition. So there will be some cancellation. I mean, there will be cancellation of some portion of the fault current. As a result, your fault current magnitude will be reduced through the faulty path, and the possibility of development of capacitive current will be thus reduced. Now the same thing, again, switching of breaker with capacitive loading can also develop some voltage, and this is same as that of development of switching over voltage, which we discussed in our last class. Now, switching of breaker with capacitive loading may develop some. Here also we have grounded the system, but here these are the two terminals which represent the two electrodes or two poles of the circuit breakers. Now, opening or closing of this system may develop some over voltage, which we have seen in our previous class in the case of switching over voltage case. This is the same equation we are using here. And here we have seen how the voltage may develop or rise due to restrike. The voltage increases from Vm to 2 Vm, then 3 Vm, 5 Vm, etc. So if such a high voltage develops in the system, then what will happen? Possibility of arcing ground will remain, and this system is thus also capable of developing over voltage in the system. Next is this. Arcing ground phenomena can be avoided and fault current can be reduced by resistance grounded system and Peterson coil grounded system, which is also called the resonance grounded system. So what is resistance grounded system? In this case, what all is done is, in the case of inductance grounded system, we connected or we placed an inductive coil between the neutral point and ground. Here, we replace that inductive coil by a pure resistance. That is the resistance grounded system. Now, what is the idea here? The fault current is not purely reactive, and supply voltage at current zero will be much less than Vm. Now, if the fault current is either purely resistive purely inductive or purely capacitive, then what really happens? Circuit breaker operates when the current passes through its natural zero value. Now, if the circuit is either purely, either predominantly inductive or capacitive, then when the current passes through its natural zero value, then the supply voltage will be either at positive peak value or negative peak value. So, if the circuit is broken at that time, what will happen? The net voltage that appear across the two poles of the circuit breaker is, if the capacitor, as in the case of switching over voltage, we initially saw that the capacitor is charged to minus Vm and the voltage on the other pole of the circuit breaker reaches plus Vm. Thus, the net voltage appearing across the open gap or is 2 Vm. But if due to some way we can manage to reduce the voltage magnitude of the voltage appearing on the left hand side of the open poles from peak value to some less values, then the probability of restrike will be reduced. Do you understand this point or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in resistance grounded system, this happens since the current is not either purely inductive or purely capacitive. Therefore, at the time of current zero, the voltage on the left hand side of the open poles of the circuit breaker will not reach its peak value. It will be much less than peak value. As a result, the net voltage appearing across the gap will be much less than 2 Vm, twice peak value, and thus the probability of restrike of an arc is much reduced. Okay, but this system is not very popularly used because, as you all know, introduction of additional resistance in the circuit will obviously introduce additional loss in the system. That is why resistance grounded system is not very popularly used. What is done is actually this arc suppression coil or Peterson coil. This is the most popularly used grounding practice. This is also called the resonance grounded system. Let us now discuss that. Now here there is an again iron core inductive coil is normally placed with in between the neutral point and the ground. And this iron core inductive coil is provided with tappings so that if necessary the magnitude of the inductance to be introduced in the system gets or can be changed. So what is done is, here you see IB. IB is the fault current to phase B. IB is equal to omega into C into VRB from line R to R, leading VRB by 90 degree. IB means IBR almost. That is, IB is equal to this. It is basically nothing but VRB by XC. XC is equal to 1 by omega C. So IBR is equal to omega C VRB, and IY is equal to VRY into omega into C. That is VRY by omega C as before. And IL, VNR, the voltage appearing between neutral point and phase R, VNR by XL, that is the inductive reactance, leading the lagging, sorry, here it is inductive current lagging the voltage by 90 degree. The resultant of IBR is like this as before. So IB plus IBY, IB plus IY is equal to 3 omega C VBR, which can be replaced by line voltage VL. And VL is equal to VRB is equal to VY is equal to line voltage and in phase opposition to, this is a wrong statement, line voltage, this much up to this much, you just accept this is not in phase opposition to IL, it should be placed somewhere here, somewhere, I mean, elsewhere, which it has been wrongly written here. Now, if IC, the fault current is IB plus IY, we have seen this in solidly grounded system or in neutral ground, inductive grounded system, IC is equal to IB plus IY. If that can be made equal to IL, there will be no current to the earth fault and there will be no earth. Is the point clear? Since if we can make by proper selection of the inductance, adjusting the taps provided with the inductive coil, so that the inductive current is equal and opposite to that of the capacitive fault current, that is IC is equal to IL, then what will happen? No current will flow through the fault path, that is to the earth, and the question of earthing ground will not exist. And the condition for doing this is VNR by omega L, that is the IL, and IC we have just now reduced, root 3 omega into C into VRB. And simplifying, what we can write is this, just see. VRB is equal to root 3 VNR, because VNR is phase voltage. So on simplification, what we get is 3 omega C is equal to 1 by omega L, or XC is equal to 3XL. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And this is the phasor diagram. Okay. Now break for 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Now let us resume our class. Next
Yes, sir.
is design and protection of high voltage systems. Now, in high voltage system, there are many costly equipments, and we have seen or we have discussed that uh, there is a chance of development of over voltages, maybe external over voltages due to lightning or internal over voltage due to switching. Now the net, whatever may be the reason, doesn't matter. The net effect is that if over voltage develops, the equipments connected in the system may get damaged. That is why we have to take some steps for protecting these costly equipments in the system, not only uh, just to I mean just to reduce the chance of damage of the individual equipment, but at the same time to maintain continuous power supply without undisturbed or uh, un, not only undisturbed, but so that the in customers premises minimum number of what should I say, minimum number of disconnection or non-availability of supply occurs. Now, if we can manage to protect the individual equipments in the system from failure due to over voltage, then obviously there will be less number of interruptions of the system, and the end users will suffer from less interruption, and the non-availability of electrical supply to users end will be much less, and thus the reliability of the system will be improved. In order to achieve the reliability of the system, two things are done. One is protective devices are used, and next is insulation level of equipments are properly selected. Now, to test the insulation level, the high voltage equipment are subjected to artificial lightning impulse generated in the laboratory specified as specified in IS specification. Now, just to give you an idea, in IS specification, depending upon the system voltage, what will be the magnitude of impulse withstand voltage of such equipment is clearly mentioned. For example, if any equipment, maybe insulator or some other device, is intended to be used in 11 kV system, all such equipments which have been designed and developed for being used in 11 kV system have to withstand an impulse voltage of 75 kV peak magnitude at standard temperature and pressure. Now, if this voltage, temperature and pressure is something different, then additional correction factors have to be considered, and the impulse voltage that has to be applied across them is suitably adjusted. But the thing is this: all equipments before being placed in service are subjected to lightning impulse test, just to see whether it is able, or these equipments are able to withstand over voltages that may develop in the system. Now, As per IS specification, this is the waveform of a standard impulse voltage, lightning impulse voltage. And I think in the other part of your high voltage class, all these things have been discussed in detail. It has a very sharp or very short rising time compared to that relatively slow fall time. Now this rising time is normally referred to as wave front time, and the fall time is normally referred to as wave tail time according to Indian standard specification. Standard lightning impulse waveform should be or must be having a front time of 1.2 microseconds and tail time of 50 microseconds with permissible tolerances. In front time, it is the tolerance value is plus minus 30%. In tail time, it is plus minus 20%, and in the peak value, it is plus minus 3%. Similarly, for switching over voltages, the standard front and tail times are 250 plus minus 20% microsecond, 500 plus minus 60% microsecond, and peak voltage to be applied is plus minus 3%. So I think these things, all these things have already been discussed and you all know.
Yes, sir.
Now these points we have already discussed many times in our last classes. You can just have a quick look on these things. You can quickly go through these points. These are the points which we have already discussed. So these 3 points, do you have any question or
No, sir.
no? This is the gas field protector tube, which is used for, or this is also known as expulsion type lightning arrestor. Now, there are other types of lightning arresters, nonlinear type of lightning arresters, etc. Metal oxide lightning arresters, which is not within the scope of this syllabus. But I will request you, those lightning arresters are available. You can go through any power system book and you will get the detailed discussion on these lightning arresters. And as an electrical engineer, those who will serving in power system sector or power sector, they must know the lightning arresters. At least preliminary idea about the lightning arresters they must have. So I will request you to go to any power system book where lightning arresters are there. Okay. So here actually basically there are two gaps. One is this gap, dot gap, and there is another internal gap. And here in the internal gap between these two, there is fiber tube, and this is the outer housing. And you see this is the line, this is the insulator, and this is the pin of the insulator to which the connection is extended to ground. And the other view of the system is like this, how it is placed on the tower. You see, this is how it is placed in the tower. Protector tube internal gap is there inside, and this is the external gap as shown in figure here, the other. Now, ground wires we have discussed. So I am not discussing ground wires, its features, etc. Lightning over voltages can how the lightning over voltages can be reduced, or the damage due to lightning over voltage can be reduced using ground wires, etc. We have discussed. So I'm not going to discuss lightning over voltage here. Straight away we shall discuss the protector tube, gas field protector tube, or now here actually ordinarily rod gas type arresters can be used, but they have the problem of continuing the power frequency current even when the over voltage is gone. This is due to the ionized path between the gap and heavy power frequency current involved. Actually, what it means that instead of using protector tubes, we could use just rod gaps. Simply two rods between which there is a gap, which can be used in the event of over voltage. I'm sorry, that gap will fire and thereby not allowing the voltage to pass or appear across the particular equipment which is being protected by the rod gap. But in that case, what happens when the gap fires, even after the over voltage, when the normal power frequency current starts flowing in the system, due to the existence of charged particles or ions developed due to the breaking down of the gap due to over voltage, some current flows through that path. That is the main reason. That is what is explained here. This is due to the ionized path between the gap and the heavy power frequency current involved. So what will happen when normal power frequency current starts flowing in the system after the removal of the over voltage? Let me go back to the diagram and explain. Suppose due to over voltage, we have this part, only this rod gap, not the remaining part, etc. We have connected a rod gap across the insulator just to protect them. So what will happen? In the event of over voltage, this gap will first break down and the insulator, the voltage across the insulator will immediately become zero because the it will be short circuited. That is okay. The insulator or any other equipment across which the rod gap is placed, that rod gap will protect that particular device. That is okay. But what really happens after the over voltage is gone? It is not a permanent phenomena. It is a transient phenomena. When the over voltage is gone and the normal power frequency current starts flowing through the line, obviously by that time the ions produced due to breaking down of the gap are still remaining within the gap, and normal power frequency current will also flow through this path. So that path, ionized path, will provide a short circuit path for the flow of power frequency current, which is under normal condition is absent because there is no ionized path, there is no positive or negative ion under normal condition. That is why no current will flow under normal condition, but after fault, there is a chance that due to existence of the ions in the gap, normal power frequency current will flow through that path. This is the disadvantage of ordinary rod gaps. That is why the protector tubes are used. Now, protector tube is a gas forming tube with an external gap. External gap we have seen, and the internal gap. This one is the internal gap. This is the external gap, and this is the internal gap. Now, the protector tube uh, is a gas forming tube with an external gap and another internal gap. The internal gap is a special tube normally having low pressure. During the application of the lightning voltage, two gaps break down simultaneously and the impulse current is diverted to arc. Due to the arc formation inside the internal tube, gas formation takes place because of some special materials present in the tube. This is important. That is, in the event of over voltage or when there is lightning, overvolt appears, both the gaps, this external gap and internal gap, they fire simultaneously. And due to the arc in the internal gap, gases form inside the inside the tube or in this internal gap in this region, and as a result, what happens, that is explained here, that this gas formation increases the pressure in the tube. Meanwhile, the impulse is over. This is it, as we have said, it is not a permanent phenomenon. On the contrary, it is a transient phenomenon. So, and we have seen what is the uh, time of application of an impulse voltage, 1.2 microsecond front time, 50 microsecond tail time. Within such a short time, the impulse will be over. So when the impulse is over and power frequency current arc is blown off when the current reaches zero, how that is blown off? Due by the gas, pressurized gas, which is formed or which forms inside the internal tube or inside the tube or due to the firing of the internal gap. And as the arc is extinguished, the gas is again absorbed within the special material like a reversible process. The pressure inside the tube falls and the system returns to its initial state. So this is how the gas field protector tubes they actually operate. Next sentence says, due to the gas generated in the tube to the arc across the internal gap, the time of operation is very small and there is no circuit interruption. That is also very important. So you tell me, do you have any question on this gas field protector tube? This is mostly descriptive one. So you can go through the notes which I have sent. Ask me any question if you have, even in the next class.
Okay, sir.
So the remaining part, let us discuss. Next is volt time characteristics. This is the volt time characteristics, and it is a plot between the impulse voltage, peak value of the impulse voltage and the time. Now, for a particular type of equipment, equipment type A, let this be the volt time characteristics corresponding to a peak value of impulse voltage Y. The respective time is x microseconds. What does it mean? It means that if an impulse of peak value Y kV is applied to the equipment, the breakdown takes place at X microseconds from the application of the impulse voltage. Is the point clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is the hold time characteristics. Now insulation coordination. Now insulation coordination means in any system, be it high voltage, low voltage, etc., there are many equipments used in power system. Insulation coordination means fixing up or selection of insulation level or insulation in broader sense of these equipment. That is, how much insulation will be provided to each such equipment. That is the that is actually known as insulation coordination. Now, as it is mentioned over here, in a substation there are bus bars, current transformers, potential transformers, circuit breakers, isolators, etc. All these are transmission line. Also there are transmission line and transformers. So these are the major components present in power transmission and distributions. Now, except the main transformer, all equipments are given an insulation of Wheatstone level higher than that can be transmitted by a transmission line. What does it mean? Now, the main transformer being very costly equipment, it is provided its own and dedicated protective equipment. But other equipments are not provided with individual protective equipment. For example, main transformer is normally provided with lightning arresters. But for transmission lines, current transformers, potential transformers, etc., dedicated lightning arresters are not used in the system. Instead, what is done is all these equipments are directly or indirectly connected to the transmission line. Therefore, determining the magnitude of the surge that is expected to appear in the transmission line, the insulation of all these equipments which are connected to the transmission lines are provided more than the expected amount of surge voltage appearing in the transmission line. That is written over here. That is, except the main transformer, all equipments are given an insulation of instant voltage level higher than that can be transmitted by a transmission line. There is not much additional cost involved in increasing the Wheatstone level of these equipments, especially compared to if all such equipments would have been provided with their dedicated, uh, I mean, dedicated protective devices, for example, lightning arresters. Now, this point we have discussed. Transformers are very costly equipments, and this cost is very sensitive to the choice of the insulation level. The economic consideration leads to reduce the level of insulation lower than that of the transmission line, but the transformer must be protected by special lightning arresters known as nonlinear type of arrestor or valve type arresters. At present, nonlinear type metal oxide resistors are mostly used. Valve type arresters are not really used. So this is what is really meant by insulation coordination. And the next diagram will give you a clear idea about the level of insulations provided for different equipments. Now this is the diagram of impulse voltage. This diagram. Now this is the substation bus bar. Now this is the lightning arrestor. You see, when the over voltage reaches this point, much before its peak value, the lightning arrestor breaks down. Thereby, it will not allow the over voltage to increase to reach its peak value around the transformer or across the transformer. And the insulation level of the transformer is this one. So if the lightning arrestor fires before that, much below the insulation level of the transformer, so transformer will not be damaged due to these over voltages. Now this is incoming voltage surge. This is the line insulation. Transmission line is provided value higher than the surge, incoming surge, and substation bus bar is also provided even more or higher value of the voltage, insulation level, not voltage, than that of the line. And line, as we see, is provided with higher insulation level than that of the incoming surge, incoming voltage surge. This is how the insulations are selected for different equipments in the system, in the transmission and distribution systems in power system. Okay, so that's all for today.
Okay, sir.
So next we require one more class. I think within a single class we shall be able to manage some we shall be able to manage to discuss some portions of the cables, and I suggest we meet day after tomorrow. Same
Yes, sir.
time,
No problem. Yes, sir. No problem.
Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I hope on Wednesday we shall be able to finish the entire thing. If not, then I shall let you know. I hope we shall be able to manage.
Okay.
Okay.
So Wednesday,
Thank you,
this same time.
Same time. I shall send
Okay.
you the link.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.